Hello, everyone. Today, I'm going to tell you a very special story. It's about a little boy and a regular school day that turned into a day he would remember for the rest of his life. So, let's meet our friend, Franz. Now, Franz is a little late for school, and he's worried he's going to get into trouble. See, his teacher, M. Hamel, was going to ask questions about grammar, and, well, Franz hadn't studied at all. It was such a sunny, lovely day outside, much more fun than thinking about schoolwork. As Franz was rushing to school, he started to feel that something wasn't quite right. First, he saw a big crowd of people standing in front of the town's notice board. For 2 whole years, that board had only ever shared sad news. Franz wondered what it could be this time, but he was in too much of a hurry to stop.
And that strange feeling? Oh, it got even stronger when he finally got to his school. It was different. So very different from any other day.
Think about how noisy a school usually is, right? Desks opening and closing, everyone shouting out their lessons together, just lots of happy noise. But today, there was silence. It was as quiet as a Sunday morning. Franz had been hoping to sneak into class without anyone noticing, but with all this quiet, there was no chance. And then, Franz saw 2 more super strange things. First, his teacher, Mr. Hamel, was wearing his very best clothes, a fancy green coat and a special shirt that he only wore on prize days. And second, the benches at the back of the room, which were always empty, were filled with all the grown-ups from the village, and they all looked very, very sad.
Franz was so confused. What was happening? And just then, M. Hamel stood up. And in that one moment, everything suddenly made a sad, sad kind of sense.
In a very soft and gentle voice, his teacher said some words that changed everything. This was going to be their very last lesson together. And here's why. A new rule had come from the big city of Berlin. Because of a war, new people were in charge, and their rule was that in their schools, they could no longer be taught in their own language, French. Starting the very next day, they would only be taught in German. For little Franz, these words felt like a big, loud thunderclap in his heart. Oh, no! All at once, he felt so much regret. He thought about all the days he'd skipped school to play. His school books, which used to feel so heavy and boring, suddenly felt like precious old friends he was about to lose forever. And as Franz looked around the quiet classroom, he could see that he wasn't the only one feeling this way. Everyone in that room was sharing the very same sad feeling. And then it all made sense. The older people from the village, they were there to say thank you to M. Hamel for being their teacher for 40 long years. It was their way of saying goodbye and showing respect for the language that they were losing. Hamel then explained that maybe everyone had made a little mistake. He said the students, like Franz, sometimes put off their learning to go play, and parents sometimes thought it was more important for their kids to work on the farm than to go to school. And he even said that he, the teacher, sometimes made mistakes, like sending the children to water his flowers instead of teaching them. And from that moment on, the lesson wasn't about grammar anymore. It turned into a beautiful lesson about their language, French, and why it was so important. He told them that French was the most beautiful language in the entire world. He asked them to please, please guard it and keep it safe in their hearts, and to never, ever forget it. He told them that your language is more than just words. He said that when people are not free, holding on to their language is like having a secret key. A key that keeps their spirit and their identity safe no matter what. It's like a key to their own special prison. As the lesson started to end, the little schoolroom got even quieter and sadder. Everyone knew this was the end of something very special. And just then, the big church clock began to chime. It was 12 o'clock. At that very same moment, they heard the sound of trumpets outside. The new soldiers were there. The time was up. Hamel stood up from his chair. To Franz, he looked taller than ever before. He tried to speak, to say one last thing to them, but he couldn't. His heart was too full of emotion, and the words just wouldn't come out. So instead of speaking, he turned to the blackboard, picked up a piece of chalk, and with all his might, he wrote 2 huge words for everyone to see. Vive la France, which means long live France. And then, without saying another word, he just leaned his head against the wall. He couldn't speak, but he made a little gesture with his hand, telling them, "It's over. School's dismissed. You can go." And that story leaves us with a really big thought, doesn't it?
How can the words we speak every day, our very own language, be like a special key that keeps us strong? It's a beautiful reminder of just how precious our language is and why we should always, always cherish it.